Everybody, are we good? Happy Finish Friday, everybody, on Facebook and on Instagram. First of all, thank you so much for your continued support to what we're trying to do here at Amy Howard at Home, to be able to teach you how to be able to use these products. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were talking about how they will go into a retail store and how they'll see a lot of different products. Since it wasn't our line, but they'll see different products and they don't know what they're used for. They don't know how to use them. And then they try to get with the sales staff. The sales staff doesn't know how to use them. And the whole point in me doing this was the fact that I can tell you the reason why I developed the product to begin with. And I know this is an unusual situation because many times owners of the companies aren't the ones that actually created the product. But as a decorative finisher, I create the product. I create the finish, and then I develop the product to be able to go along with it. So that's why all of these products that we're going to be working with today have special meanings behind the finishes that we're doing that can be used individually, but together it's going to allow me to be able to show you how to do a lot of different finishes. One thing I need to tell you today is this Friday and next Friday is a two-part series. So we're going to be going over how you can use Venetian plaster, cerusing wax, and Better with Age together. It's going to blow your mind what all I'm going to show you how to do. So let's glance at these really quickly. I want to be able to just kind of, if my camera people would just make sure we kind of zoom in on them, and I'm going to go over them individually, and then I'm going to show you how to be able to do it. So are we excited? Yes! Don't forget, show me some love. The more hearts, the more encouragement I get, the more I enjoy doing this. All right, so this is, here's the raw piece of walnut. Just to show you, what we're working with today is going to be primarily for raw wood. So this is raw walnut with Better with Age, where we're getting ready to go over, with a little cerusing wax. This is just Better with Age, and this is Better with Age with cerusing wax over it. That has a beautiful grain that shows up, really pretty on that. Then, these are both the same finish, but one we took a little bit more off, and we also did it at a different stage, which I'm gonna go over with you in just a minute. This is a fantastic look on wood planks, on floors, for furniture, a lot of different things. So this is what I'm getting ready to show you today. This is Better with Age and Venetian plaster. This is Better with Age. Do you just love this? Isn't this great? This is Better with Age with cerusing wax. So I'm gonna show you that as well. I'm gonna probably need some steel wool. So here's another Better with Age. This is Better with Age. This is just a floor plank. Look at that. That's the before, guys. Can you believe that? This Better with Age is one of my favorite products that we have in our line. I have a lot of them, but it's one of my favorites because it's not a stain. It's a reactive process that literally ages the wood like it's 50 years old in minutes. So this was the before, and this is the after. Same thing here. This is the before and this is the after. These are both oak. So if you know somebody that is a furniture builder, somebody that does a lot of crafts, builds things, you need to share this with them so that way they've got some new tips on how to be able to create finishes. And then I did the Better with Age, and then afterwards all I did was a cerusing wax. So you can create different variances of that and what that looks like, but the only difference between these two, this just has cerusing wax on it. So I'm getting ready to show you this today. All right, so then, of course, we can go into playing with mixing different colors and dark wax on plaster. We can mix pigments into plaster. This is going to be more into next week. So if you're just tuning in, let's go over to what I'm going to show you next week. So today and next Friday is going to be a two-part series on plaster, Better with Age, and cerusing wax, as well as working with our stencils. So let's just glance at these real quick. You're going to be able to see what you're going to be able to learn next week. It's so exciting. This is going to take your furniture flipping to a whole new level. You know, we talk about if you've been using a chalk-based paint to be able to paint on furniture. You've done that for a while. Now you need to raise your level of connoisseurship. You need to be able to learn how to be able to create these kind of finishes that have a lot of depth, because your furniture, you're going to be able to sell it for more money. All right, so the first thing that we're going to go over first things first, are there any questions so far? Now remember, This is 12 o'clock Central Standard Time on Friday. We're coming live from Memphis, Tennessee. So I know that a lot of folks watch the replay, so please do hashtag replay. Let me know that you're watching it afterwards. You can still ask me questions, and I go online and answer them. If you're not part of our before and after Facebook group, please join our, go on Facebook, and it's Amy Howard Home before and after group, because I've seen people ask questions about painting their kitchen cabinets or furniture, and there are people on there that have already done that, and they share their pictures. They share their before and afters, and they'll tell you what color they did it in or what process they did. So it's really just a supportive, beautiful group of people that are creative, that love rescuing, restoring, and redecorating. All right, so the Better with Age product is a proprietary product that I developed. It has no VOCs, and it is water-based, and it is not a stain. It is a product that literally has a reaction to the tannins in the wood. One thing that I want you to be really careful of, and you need to make sure when you take the top off, you'll continue to kind of stir it as you're working on your project. Make sure it's stirred very well. And you see the consistency, how thin it is. Look how it's even turning this stick. Remember, this is not a penetrating stain. There's nothing about it that's a stain. This is a reactive product. So I have a plain raw piece of wood. You're gonna have to start with raw wood when you're working with this. You can strip a piece, I've done that before, to be able to get these kind of looks, but you can also start with raw woods. Oaks, walnuts, cherries, woods that are hardwoods that have a lot of tannins in them are the best. I do use it on birch too. Pine doesn't really work that well. There's not a whole lot of tannins in pine. So now look what's happening. As I'm putting this on, it's already starting to turn kind of brown. And again, this is not a stain. This is a reactionary chemical reaction with the tannins in the wood. Part of the whole reason why I developed the vintage wood Better with Age is because I wanted to be able to make brand new wood look 50 years old within minutes. So I don't know that I have a hairdryer around here. I will tell you, I did a piece of wood right before we went live, and I hit it with a hairdryer, and this is what it did. So if this gives you any idea, this will dry down in about 20 minutes. Are you amazed? Like, send me some love. It's like, Amy, I love this. How do I do this? How does this happen? So here's the before. This is just my oak wood. This is me just brushing it on, just stirring it and brushing it on. And just one application, it's gonna dry down to make it look like it's really old and weathered, like it sat outside for a long time. All right, so now here's the fun part. I can do a couple of different things. I can let it completely dry like I did with this, but I wanna come over here. I wanna show you a board that I have done. I've done a video on this, and it shows different levels as far as how it might look with the same technique. The same technique was done here on these planks. But what I did at different points of the drying process, I put on the plaster, which I'm gonna show you. So all this is Better with Age, just like I showed you with the application, with my Venetian plaster on it. All Venetian plasters are not the same. They are not the same. I repeat, all Venetian plasters are not the same. Because a lot of Venetian plasters that you will get that are in regular stores, they are acrylic-based products that are made to sit on the shelf for a long period of time, and they're not going to give you the beauty and the depth that our Venetian plaster does, which is a very simple three-part ingredient that's been around for thousands of years from Venice, originating in Venice. So. But anyway, I wanted you to see the different looks that you can get with this, and I love putting those all together. Are there questions yet? Okay, come on over, and we're going to keep working. Yes?
How long to stir?
Just a little bit. And I want to know who asked these questions.
Susan.
Susan. Hey, Susan. So just when you're stirring it, can we get down over here so she can just see it? So it's just a little bit, just like maybe 15 seconds. That's all. And I usually don't shake it like that with the top on. I'll just get a stir stick and just kind of stir it up like that. That's all.
Do you recommend wearing gloves?
You know, there's no VOCs in this. The only thing is, when you're working with Venetian plaster, and that's why I love these. Is this still Susan? When you're working with plaster, it's probably a good idea to wear gloves because there's lye in the plaster, and it'll have a tendency to dry your hands out. That's the only reason. If it doesn't bother you, then I just wash my hands with soap afterwards, and I'm good.
Okay. Susan has another question.
Okay.
Does it continue to age?
No, once it's completely dry, so let's look at that process again. So when we go from raw to just painting that on, in about 20 minutes, it's gonna look just like that. Don't you love it? I just love it. It's so much fun. All right, so now I'm gonna mix up my plaster. Are we good, everybody? Susan's good? All right. So now I wanna show you as far as how to create this look and what you saw over here on that board, different levels of it. It's the same process, it's just how much you take off and at what point. And when I say at what point, because if I want it to be more brown, like this, if I want it to be more brown, or like this piece over here, if I want it to look more brown, I need to apply the plaster while the Better with Age is still wet. Everybody with me? All right. So I don't want it to completely dry if I want it to be more brown like this. Yes?
What works better with pine? This is
You
from
know-
Teresa from Las Vegas.
Hey, Teresa. How's Las Vegas? I'm trying to think. This is March, so the weather's probably fab there right now. So, it won't be as fabulous because there's not that many tannins in it, so meaning it's not gonna go as dark. What's so great about working with woods that have tannins in it, it goes to this beautiful dark gray. If you work with pine, it's gonna go more into a paler brown color. Does that make sense? So you can still do it. It's just not gonna be as deep and as rich. Yes?
Okay, this is from Janine. Will it bring red tones out in the wood? If it does, what to use to tone down the red?
It won't bring red tones out. Now, this is, for instance, this is the walnut that we had done. It works really great on cherries and mahoganies, which are normally more redwoods. But no, it's gonna go darker and richer like this. Those woods, see how much darker that went? Look at that walnut in comparison to the oak. They're all gonna go pretty dark. Now, here's the other thing. You may have to watch this segment a couple of times because I'm going deep. Today and next week, we're going deep into finishing. So share this online if you know somebody that likes finishing, because nobody wants to tell people how to do this. These are secrets. These are things that furniture finishers don't tell you, because this is what allows them to be able to sell furniture. I am working on an entire Old World Toscana course that will be available very soon. That is a class that you can sit down, and I'm going to go and teach you a lot of very sophisticated, in-depth finishes that will help you in your business. But so, you know, the question was as far as pine and working with woods like that, or what was the last question, Kenyatta?
She wanted to know would the red tone come out of the wood?
No, you're fine. It's going to stay deeper. It's not going to show up at all. All right, so before this completely dries on me, I need to mix up some of my plaster. So we sell the plaster in bags like this. It's Venetian plaster. It has lye in it. Guess what? It also has marble dust. It almost is like magic dust, but it really does have marble dust in it. And that's what will give you a beautiful high sheen. So I want you to take just a little bit of the Venetian plaster out like this. Put it in your container. You can use a plastic container, a glass container, it doesn't matter. And then I want you to just take some regular tap water. And I want you to mix this up to about the consistency of sour cream. So you can just stir it up like this. You want to make sure that it's blended well. Can you see down in there? So I'll be honest with you, I had some of this done right before we went live because I don't want to spend too much time mixing this up, but you get the gist. Make sure you get all of the bumps out of it and that it's nice and thick and about the consistency of sour cream. And then I've got a little bowl over here that I mixed up just enough to be able to show you on the sample. So this is my one and only spoon. Let me just kind of clean this off. Are we good on questions? All right. Got two great camera people here wanting to make sure that our students who we love and adore know how to be able to use these products. And I love the fact that y'all ask questions because it allows me to be able to learn and how I can create materials for you to be able to learn how to use these products. All right, so I'm gonna apply a little bit of this plaster that I just mixed with water, and you see about the consistency of it. Now, here's the part that plaster loves. You need to think about this plaster as living, breathing molecules that are in here. The more we use metal, don't use plastic, I want you to use metal. When we work with this metal and you start mixing this together, it comes alive. It loves that. So the other thing is, though, that when you're working with plaster, you're gonna have to have like a little 5-gallon container of water. I want you to have a little rag so you're washing it off all the time. Don't let the plaster get hard on here because it'll affect your finish, okay? So notice what I'm working with here. This is still wet. This hasn't completely dried. If it was completely dry, it would be this color right here. And it would take about 20 minutes to where it starts going this beautiful gray. So before it's completely dry, all I've done is I've applied the Better with Age on top of raw wood, and I'm gonna lay this down on top of my Better with Age. And what's gonna happen, the part of the reason why I was laying it down before it's completely dry, not too wet, but it's kind of come to attack. The Better with Age is also gonna kind of start to stain. Do you see that? It's gonna stain. There's no stain in this, it's a reaction, but it's also gonna kind of stain in a natural way my plaster.
Jean asked, do you have to worry that the plaster will dry up while you're working with it?
No, not at all, you're fine. So if you think it starts to get, now, let me say this, maybe your project lasts 3 days. Yeah, so you want to come back and make sure. The cool thing about it is it's not going to go bad. It's not like milk paint. As long as you keep it covered in a Tupperware container, you can put a little water in there. Normally, I'll take a little piece of saran wrap and I'll sit down on top of my plaster and then put the lid on it. So it just keeps it nice and moist, and then I take my saran wrap off and my top off, and I'm ready to go. So now notice how I put that on there. I'm letting it come to tack just a little bit. I'm not gonna let it dry completely, but I want it to come to what we call a tack. And maybe about 5 minutes, it'll start to just kind of harden, and it's seeping down into the actual wood itself. So that way when I come back, now you'll notice just because of here, I've got a clean one because I would want to make sure that I clean this off. So I've got 2 here to be able to show you. I want you to hold this at a 45-degree angle, and I want you to just hold, usually I'll just hold my fingers here so the pressure's even, where it's not wobbly, and I'll just go to the end like this, and I'm gonna pull it. Oh, do you love that? I'm just gonna pull it, and I've got a rag over here. Just gonna wipe this excess off. I don't want you to use this, like this is a garner. Once you pull this off, don't put it back in your clean batch, because it's actually, see how it's almost turned that cream color? That's from the Better with Age. So then we're gonna come back, I'm overlapping again, I'm not butting up. Look how my fingers are positioned, I'm holding and I'm pulling. Look at the pressure. See, there's quite a bit of pressure on here as I'm pulling this, look at that. Do you love that? Send me some love, guys. If you love this, I do. I love mixing finishes like this. This is the bomb. And here's the cool thing. You could have some kitchen cabinets made. Would you love this on some kitchen cabinets? I would. And the cool thing about it is this plaster is the same recipe that has been used for thousands of years in Venice, because they had a moisture problem and the water was overtaking their city, and they needed to be able to have a product that was a combination of calcium carbonate, which is chalk, marble dust, and lye. And so that those ingredients put together, when mixed with water and put on walls or floors, that it protects against mold and mildew. It's washable and incredibly durable. So you don't have to do anything after this. Yes?
Susan said, this is why we love Amy and Jean. They share the love.
That's so sweet. Thanks, Susan. Yes. I'm passionate. Can you tell?
Corlin said, I have done this with my shelves in my kitchen and I love it. But I do have a question.
Okay.
She's waiting to send her question.
Okay.
Susan has another question. Do you refrigerate the plaster after a few days?
It's not necessary. Just to make sure that it's not, you don't freeze it, that it doesn't get way too cold or intensely hot. Just keep it kind of neutral.
Okay. Carlene is back with her question.
Okay.
When I went back to scrape off the plaster, I had very scraped lines from the putty knife. How do I avoid that next time?
It might have been on the slickness of the surface that you were actually working on. I don't know. I mean, as far, because you saw with mine, if I make sure that I try to control it as far as how I'm pulling it, and also make sure that your plaster is thick enough. You saw kind of the consistency of my plaster. Make sure it's not too thin. But you can come back and finesse it and get those marks out of it. But this is like really thick sour cream. It's a little thicker than sour cream. So try to test with the thickness of your plaster. That might help too. Yes.
Mary asks, can you use it on painted wood or do you need to sand it first?
So next week, is this Mary? Mary, we're going to go over this next week. Take a glance at what I'm going to show you next week. More about full coverage with plaster. Yes, you can use plaster and paints together and use them on top of furniture, and we're going to go over that next week as part of this two-part series. But today we're dealing primarily with raw woods. We want to make sure we have tannins. Better with Age works on raw wood. So you can strip pieces. There's a lot of fabulous pieces out there that we can strip, and we can do this to them. Yes?
Jean asks, can I use plaster on dry stained wood?
You can use plaster on dry stained wood, but it's going to be a totally different process. We're going to have to prime it, and we're going to talk about that next week. So yes, you can, and you can get some great finishes with it. I love that y'all are into this. Yes, I love this.
Nikki said, if a piece of furniture has scratches, will it make them show worse or will it fill them in?
It will fill them in, yes, because it's a really thick product to be able, we're bringing on a totally different finish. So I will tell you, even seeing this and how this looks right now, I want to get this in the light so you can see it, is the fact that it's going to dry much lighter. This is going to dry down to where it will be looking more like this and this. That's what it's going to dry down to. So when this goes, this is pretty wet right now, but when it dries down, it's going to look more like these. Does that help? All right, sorry for switching y'all back and forth. All right, so remember, in order to be able to get this brown kind of look, I made sure that I applied the plaster before it was completely dry. It was still kind of damp. But if I come back and do it on top of the gray, it's going to look totally different. So I now want to show you how to use the Better with Age and the cerusing wax. So now the cerusing wax, look at my hands. I'm not worried about it. If it doesn't bother y'all, it doesn't bother me. I'm going to take just a little bit of a cardboard, and I don't know that I've ever used this before, so I'm going to take the lid off. You can squeeze just a little bit out like that. You can use this on top of kitchen cabinets. Once you use this cerusing wax, don't put anything else on top of it. That's it. You don't have to go seal it with anything. It's not necessary. You don't have to go back and seal this plaster either. You're good to go. So one thing I want you to do, I'm going to thin this just a little bit. And a lot of people don't realize this clean slate needs to be in your DIY pantry. Not that I'm pushing products. I'm just telling you that it's great to be able to clean your furniture, to be able to get ready for projects, but you can also thin waxes with it. You can also clean your brushes with it. So I'm just going to add just a couple of drops of this clean slate. And mix this up just to thin it down just a little. So you see how it's best, don't use a synthetic brush. That's why these chip brushes are so good. And the Amy Howard Home brushes, they're twice the thickness, but the chip brushes, it's natural and really easy to work with waxes. Let me clean my messy space up here. All right, so now you'll notice the grain is running this way. I'm going to want to make sure that I go against the grain when I want it to really show up. But for right now, I'm just going to apply it with the grain. All right, guys, you can ask questions. I know y'all are watching. All right, so now watch. I'm going to turn this. We applied this direction. I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going against the grain. So I'm not going to come with my steel wool this way. I want you to go against the grain. That way it's going to get down into the grain that we've got here. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Just really simple, easy. No-brainer finish.
Renee asks, can you color the plaster?
I love you, Renee. I love you. I love the fact that y'all are thinking outside the box. Yes, you can color the plaster. We're going to go over that next week, though. You can use my Toscana milk paint and mix it with plaster and have a lot of different colors. You can't use anything else. And so a lot of people think, wonder if I could use this with that. I created these products to be able to be married together, so where the composition of them, they can be mixed and incorporated and creating with a lot of different finishes. Other companies don't do that. That's why it's kind of crazy that I develop the product and I teach you, and I'm still the creative director of it. So I hope that's a benefit. It's like a lot of people don't realize we're just a mom and pop shop. This is Jean and I. This is a dream that we've done. I don't like telling people how long I've been refinishing furniture, but it's over 30 years. It's kind of scary. But now I can use the processes that I have developed in being a furniture designer and a manufacturer and teach you how to create these finishes. That's what I love. Are you okay over here on Instagram? Okay. Now, I can come back and I can add a little bit more of this, but I want to be able to buff it. Now, right now it looks pretty matte and pretty flat, but I can come back and lightly buff this. I need to let it dry, and it will have a beautiful, rich sheen to it. If I want it to be darker, this is one that I came back and I just put on more cerusing wax. You can make it look however you want as far as how light or how dark. I can come back. I'll take just a little bit more. If I took off too much, I can just come back, add a little bit more, and I'm getting it down into the crevices. Main thing is I want to make sure that I allow it to come to tack, and then I can buff it, because this cerusing wax has a beautiful, beautiful sheen once it is buffed. It will be a gorgeous, gorgeous piece of furniture. You know, the funny thing is, if you're a cabinet maker, or I think about so many guys that are woodworkers, they can make pieces like this, but what really takes it to the next level is the fact that that really beautiful furniture cabinet, professional looking finish. And this is as simple as the Better with Age and the cerusing wax. So hopefully I wasn't too long-winded today. Hopefully you saw the versatility of these, the Venetian plaster and the cerusing wax and the Better with Age, how you can use it on raw wood to be able to get looks like this. Go back, if you're just now tuning in, please watch it and listen carefully, because I've given you a lot of tips on things like waiting until the Better with Age is to a point of tack, not completely dry, to be able to have it more brown like this. How to be able to allow the Better with Age to be able to dry, how long it takes, what kind of woods to use it on. Go back and listen carefully. So I want you to be part of our before and after group if you're not already, and share with us what you do with your free products. So we'll be getting in touch with you and send that out to you ASAP. So thanks again for tuning in today for Finish Friday. Don't forget, this is part 1. Of next week will be part 2, with actually putting Venetian plaster on furniture, working with stencils, creating 3-dimensional effects, and then working with the milk paints in Venetian plaster. Have a